Here we go.
What'd you do?
I hit that button.
That didn't work.
You want me to hit
I'll go get it.
and then check it?
We should have started at 7:30 trying to get on.
Well, we're doing everything. Oh, there we are, Rebecca.
Oh,
Okay.
it's recorded though.
And they said, there you are. We're delayed, of course. Okay, so let's see if people can hear us. Can everybody hear us all right? Hey, Daniel. Hey, Amberly. Oh, we're not too far behind. What we're seeing is a little delayed.
Yeah.
Might be better to see. Audio's a little rough. Okay.
You want to try to play
We're
this
hoping
back
it'll
in?
clear up. Do you even know how you got that started?
Yes.
So we can do that right next time?
What we did is I hit that
Wow.
to make it go from there to there.
Oh, okay. So we
And
weren't putting it to the.
Is the mic
YouTube
working?
stream.
Are people hearing us?
Do you think people are
Audio's
saying
good
should
now.
we try to put on this Logitech because it's gonna make it easier to
We
see
can
both
try.
you and Casey? We
We
got a
can try.
special guest tonight, guys. Can you bear with us 1 second? We're gonna try to do this
We're gonna mess it
wide
all
angle
up.
lens, and hopefully we're not gonna mess it all up. Okay. This is a new
Okay,
What's
so
up,
system
Ken?
from there.
Ken.
See, you guys can't even see Casey yet. You see his orange, his trademark orange shirt,
Dirt.
dirty shirt.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty
Okay.
That's cool how you could
There we
switch.
go.
You could get fancy, and switch between those angles if you wanted to. Okay.
Okay, so let's make
There, look at that.
That's cool.
So you could have multiple cameras going. I think this is going to be an amazing live stream system as soon as we figure it out. Yes, Casey's in the
audio
house.
is low, it says. Let me go
Okay,
back and look
why
at
don't you
that.
try to go get our microphone?
Okay.
If
Can
you
they
think
hear
that-
us
if
now?
you think the laptop can handle it.
Okay, I'll go try that. That really does look much better.
So she's going to try to get a mic. Maybe we're just being timid. I don't know. Are we being timid? Nick, July says Casey's in the house. Clara says perfect. Low for me too. So people are saying it's low. Somebody else is saying it's much better, so I don't really know what to go off. Sorry we're a little late here. We're trying to figure out the tech stuff. We got a lot of questions to go through. We are looking good. Everybody's agreed we're looking good, but we don't sound so good. So we got to work on that. So his audio isn't that bad. So maybe, but then another person says I can't hear you. So I don't know what it is, guys.
That'll probably. I think that'll make a big difference.
If we get the blue Nessie,
The thing is,
Can anyone?
this thing's a beast.
is that podcast?
Oh, did that like knock our?
No.
Is that our audio
no, that's
bar
what I
right
was
there?
wondering if that's our audio.
That's pathetic. Turn that all the way up. See what happens. I bet that'll help. That's gonna do it. I'm trying to get this bar to go up. Okay, we're looking at the audio bar.
All the headphone users are like,
No.
No, it's like in the
I wonder if it's
negative.
people
What is
going
on?
using headphones. Me off, Rebecca. There you go. Put me back on there. All right. Roll this all the way up, Rebecca.
I did.
And then go see how people are responding to this. Is that better now? Because we just put on
Casey needs a
a Nessie
haircut.
mic. Okay. Rebecca, get the shears out.
I know.
We do whatever you want. Cutting his hair. Shaving it tonight.
I've had enough
Okay.
bad haircuts in my life.
Amberly says it sounds great. Daniel says it's better. It's gotta be, man. We broke out the expensive mic for you guys. We love you
That thing's
guys.
Professional, man.
So we're on a professional podcast mic. So much better, they say. Okay,
All right, nice.
guys, I would love to hang out a little bit more right here on the top of the hour, but we're gonna jump right into it. Casey drove an hour and a half. Do you guys know that? He loves you. Oh look, Rebecca's about to cut your hair. So Casey loves you. We love you. I'm gonna jump into these questions. It's gonna be a Casey themed show tonight with we're going to talk about gardening. That's going to be the theme. I am going to answer y'all's questions you submitted unrelated to garden. I'm going to zip right through it though, and we're going to spend more time on the questions related to the gardening. So I know a lot of you guys are new here, so thank you for joining the member area. We love you. Welcome to the family. We appreciate it very much. Got loads of content coming your way fall semester up into December to the end of December. So, oh, good. People are turning us down now, Mom. We're too loud. Well, right off the bat, this is a question for you, Casey. Have you seen any production advantages when using plastic on tomatoes compared to mulch, assuming all else is the same?
Yes, because when the way that we grow, we don't use mulch in our system because it gets in the way of like seeding things. And another issue with mulch, even if it's in the walkway, is that it will get onto the bed. And we use leaf mulch though, but not wood mulch. Like we don't use wood chips.
Yeah.
Let me read that again.
I think you know
Yes.
that.
So plastic on the tomatoes, that holds a lot of moisture, and there's actually been studies done to prove that black plastic, even though it's black, will keep the soil cooler.
Yeah.
So that helps, and it conserves water. We run drip tape underneath our weed mat, and if I forget to water one day or can't water it, it's not that big of a deal because it stays moist.
It's a myth that it heats up under black plastic.
Yeah,
You
it
gotta
keeps-
have clear plastic to heat it
Yeah.
up.
You're not getting direct sunlight on the soil, and you're not losing that much water. So that's a benefit of it. We only use the black plastic on longer term crops though. So tomatoes, cucumbers, squash. We don't really grow a lot of squash, but peppers, things that are going to be in the ground for a lot longer than like 2 months, we'll put the plastic down because that takes a lot of time away from weeding.
Yeah.
And it lasts for like 5, 6, 7 years.
Cool. I think you said in one of your videos that you were growing food and selling through a CSA. Yes, that's how we started growing food. Right out the gate. It's a CSA. CSA, for those of you who don't know, is selling vegetable produce before you even grow it. So you get people to come in and kind of invest in the farm, buy a share, and they get weekly boxes of the produce. So how long did you do this for? We did it one season. What were some of the pros and cons? So some of the pros were that it was a job that we could do together as a family. It was exercise. It was outside. We got free food. You know, we got to expense the growing of all that on the taxes, and then we basically got free food because we had enough extra. The cons on that were there was a lot of pressure to fulfill those, even though we were kind of all in this risk together. You didn't want to let those people down, and it was for the amount of work and risk. It was low pay. It was a low return, and I didn't get out of it necessarily for that. I got out of it because we got Lyme disease and we had to slow down market farming. So in the second part of your question, you said if you were not doing YouTube videos, would you still be farming and selling your produce to make a living? I went into YouTube as a way to continue to build my audience. We started building our audience and selling to the audience things they need, blogging. So if YouTube were not successful, guys, before YouTube, I did Periscope, 150 days straight, live scopes. And I think even before that, I put heavy into Instagram. And before that, a blog. So blogs were successful for us, and it was paying the bills. And then we got the idea to vlog because maybe it would be we figured it would be a little more family friendly. We could all be more involved. It turns out we loved it. We love editing that more than we love editing writing, and YouTube took off. So if YouTube were to bust, I would find another content generation platform. So I would produce content, build an audience, find a need in that audience. The note. I think you went in the middle. Why are people complaining?
Well, they're not complaining, but I'm just trying to work on what
All right.
it is. Okay.
So I wonder why there's an echo.
I know, that's what I'm talking about.
Maybe
Well,
we put it on a different setting. We're going to see if that's a little bit better. So anyway, yeah, it's basically building an audience through creating free content. So I would do that. If YouTube wasn't working, I would explore going back into blogging. I would go into maybe going back. And Instagram's hot right now. Instagram seems like it's going somewhere. Podcast voice is like blowing up incredibly. So podcasts are a lot of fun. I like to interview people. Got a lot of experience doing that. So yeah, I would still be doing the same thing, but maybe not with that certain platform. Where did you get your fruit trees from, and at what expense? How did you take care of them to keep them healthy? So we found a local guy just at a grocery store. We saw the tag. We called him up. He designs, installs, and we're like, sign me up. And he bought the trees from a local nursery.
Okay, I fixed it.
And all we did to care for them was mulched them. We put down a sheet mulch, we bought a non-toxic paper that we put down, and then we put down 8 inches of wood chips on top of it, and that's it. And we protected them from the cows. 2 have died out of maybe 14 or 15. We're just going to replace them next year.
That's average.
Hey,
that?
Casey said it's average.
It is.
Nice.
I planted trees. I've planted like thousands of trees in my landscaping time.
Nessie.
Oh.
There it is. Well, I don't know what we did.
Turn it off. Turn it
We're
back
back, guys. Sorry. Boy,
on.
I don't know if you heard.
Okay.
You kind of need to keep that up somehow. We need 2 screens. We need 2 monitors.
Yeah.
Because we're having to bounce back and forth between Casey pantomime. That's all we need. Okay.
Okay, it's better. Good. Sound wasn't good enough.
So.
I think it was me.
You gotta turn that off. That's gonna give us echo.
Okay.
All right. Did y'all catch what Casey was saying? Okay.
Hold on.
It's changed when I lean forward, so I must have touched something. Casey was saying the number of trees lost, so pick up there, Casey. I guess you're gonna have to do a little repeat.
You
We're watching the audio here.
You can get a bunch of trees from a nursery or have them delivered by a landscape company or whatnot, but the handling of the tree in the nursery sometimes can take the trunk loose from the root ball, causing an issue that is eventually going to kill the tree. It's just it dies after you plant it. So
okay. Why are they saying nope?
I don't know. It might
Did
have
you
been
ask
about
a
the trees.
question?
No.
Casey planted 1,000 trees and then it went out. But then I think it's back.
Hey, you guys can hear me now, right? Okay.
Wait, no, that was me.
Oh, I wonder if this is delayed. The text,
No.
the text is not delayed. But
No, it
see,
is delayed.
they're hearing us 2 minutes later.
I know.
2 minutes.
I am so annoyed with
Seems
this
like that.
Okay, now they can hear.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Daniel says we're still good. Thank you, Daniel. Okay. Will you ever try or have the idea of a sunflower field to get chicken food, human food, and just have beauty from it? Maybe. I'm heading more toward, if I'm heading towards anything, it's more towards after the vegetable crops are done to do an edible cover crop that then I can run the animals on. So stuff they can eat. So that's the closest I'm going to get to that. Sometimes sunflowers is included in on that. So which garden tool would you suggest for keeping poison ivy and other invasive vines away? Now, and then would goats work? So I don't know if there's a specific tool. Maybe you know of something, Casey, but basically no other. I don't know if there's a better tool than just some long sleeve shirts, gloves, and a trash bag.
Here's a suggestion. If it's really that bad, because I get poison ivy really bad, you have to be allergic to it to get it. And I had a guy on one of my crews like 2 years ago that didn't get it. So when we had an issue with poison ivy, he could go and pull it. So if it's really that bad and it's going to be around like kids and stuff, it's probably worth paying somebody to
come in and take it out.
Yeah, because they
Can
don't.
you pay someone to do that?
Yeah, just call a landscape company.
Oh,
They'll
really?
do it, yeah.
Okay.
You've like look for somebody that ask them, are you allergic to poison ivy? Because we had a guy and we saw if we're taking like a tree down or something, there's a poison ivy vine on it. He would just cut it and be like, he would just cut it and yeah, that thing is not going real well.
So if I put it right here, then it's going crazy. So I'm just gonna put it.
I'll hold
You guys will hold the mic close to you when you're talking. Okay?
Yeah.
So we're gonna hold the mic closer and see if that works. Okay. Now you're like holding your ears. Should I squeal? Okay. Okay. So goats, I have heard, will eat poison ivy, but they're. Should I say annoying? No, I shouldn't say that. The mic's going out. No, goats are difficult. And then what to do with them after they've eaten all that poison ivy. So if you have a goat rental company, maybe, but it's not going to work well near a garden. If you're trying to keep poison ivy out of a garden, you're going to have to deal with it specifically. Cows will also eat poison ivy. And
I don't think they'll eat it at the rate that goats will, though.
right. I can't speak for devil eyes. Is there a goater in the crowd? We need a goater to speak up. Will goaters really? Oh, am I too loud now? Okay. Will goaters really eat poison ivy? Okay. It seems that the Icelandic chickens are always getting out. Why do you like Icelandic chickens? Because I like torture. In permaculture chickens, you talked about dual-purpose chickens, which Icelandics are dual-purpose chickens. I'm guessing a larger dual-purpose chicken would not be as flighty as your Icelandics. That's true, but the reason I like Icelandics is because they're flighty. No, they're scrappy, flighty birds, and because those are the birds that are following the cows, they're going to be out in the back 40, and they need to be more flighty so they can get away. Becky, she's just walking around like this is some party. She got her fried cheese, her kombucha. Why don't you just dig into the pie over there for us, Rebecca? While poor Justin has to hold this mic just right, or the people can't hear, or they're getting their eardrums blown out. Okay?
We hatched Icelandics that we got from you guys, and I'm straight up giving them to Ben and Meg. I don't want those things. Nope. They get out like they're way too smart to be in fencing.
They're too smart.
Yeah.
Okay, they're smart. They're small. That's the problem. That's why they're getting out of our fences. Once they get up to age, they're staying in just fine. So we got some of them in the what do you call that? A playpen? We'll call it a playpen, chicken pen, for the bad boys and girls. Okay, this one's for you, Casey. How did you get such an amazing, good-looking hairdo? No, just kidding. How did you get such an amazing crop of carrots? Did you use pelletized seeds? Do you have to thin a lot? Do you have some sort of fancy seed machine? I've never had luck with carrots.
Carrots are, I'll just tell you the process we do for carrots. So for the carrots, to get them to germinate, so your bed prep, you want compost and no other amendments. So just compost on top. So you're seeding like directly into compost, like an inch, and you want to seed them. I use the Jang seeder, so that's going to be in your vlog tomorrow. For that, it's a yellow seeder. I brought it here before. It's a precision seeder, and it just works really well for carrots. So if you don't have that, do it by hand, and just.
I can't imagine doing it.
Well, we're doing 100-foot beds at a time, so. And then the other thing is water it really heavy and then cover it with something so you can keep the moisture in. And we use the silage tarps with the white side up because it reflects the sun away and keeps the soil cool. Because if it's too hot, they won't germinate. And then every day I check it. It's usually 4 or 5 days. And
Check it every day.
yeah, I'm out there every day.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
I don't check it every
yeah.
day.
Well, you have to. I mean, I have to because if it's under the tarp, it will germinate. And the idea of the tarps is that you don't get sunlight, so the carrot seed will use all its energy.
So wait, you use a tarp, not an agribon.
You can use Agribon too, but the tarp is better, I think. And the carrots, they always come out spotty or way too thick. Yeah, it's not a silly question.
No.
Yeah, we use the cedar, and a lot of times if
What
it's
are you looking for? You looking for the original question?
at just the beginning, I don't want to miss anything here. No pelletized seeds. That was just raw seed. Didn't thin a lot.
What's the deal? Do you know anything about pelletized carrot seeds?
You don't need to buy them.
You don't need to buy
No.
carrotized.
No,
Pelletized carrots.
it's too expensive.
Get those pelletized carrots out of my face.
Yeah. Yeah, so the carrot, yeah, that's kind of the carrot method there is just keeping it moist until it germinates. And that's
So he needs to get out there and irrigate my
you need to irrigate it, man.
you haven't irrigated my carrots, man.
Oh, he's gone. He's going right now.
Are you really gonna do it now? In the middle of the thing?
Cool.
Okay. It's Casey and
Just
Rebecca.
like forget that. He really is.
we
Actually, watering at night is a good idea because it's gonna stay moist overnight.
Oh, good.
So it's good.
So when's the best time to water?
When you need it.
How do you know if you need it? How do you know if you need to water?
Stick your finger in the soil.
Okay.
And if it's not moist, like 2 inches down,
So basically,
yeah, like you need to water it.
everything out there needs
Yeah.
to be watered.
You have to remember that it's exposed right now and it's the hottest time of year.
Okay.
So you need more
So
water.
how many times should I be watering?
You could probably get away with an hour a day on each plot.
So an hour a day with the.
Yeah. Or we need to set up wobblers really for you guys.
I know we do need to set that
Yeah,
up.
we will.
Eventually.
Um,
Okay.
it's
Is everybody hearing us good? I'm not as loud as Justin. Okay.
Yeah, I hope that answers the question on the carrots. The only other thing is when you're seeding them the way we do when it's really dense, you get a leaf fungus, and
With the carrots.
yeah, it's called alternaria or blight.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
could get that technically. It could happen.
By the time that
my
those-
carrots are big.
yeah,
It won't be around.
it's probably not gonna be hot enough.
See, you have more
Tops.
mature carrots. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wrecks them. I mean, like if you get an afternoon storm,
Really? So what
Like-
would you do if you?
biological fungicide. Copper
Okay.
doesn't work. It's too hot and humid in the south.
Okay.
East, here, copper's not going to work. So, biological fungicides. I'm trying Serenade right now.
Okay.
It's nothing crazy. Like the things that you can harvest, like of the day, that are
It's a safe.
certified.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
What
It's-
about putting copper in the soil?
you actually don't want to.
Because the only reason I say that is I have a friend who was like, because she does cows
Mhm.
and we do minerals, and so it's copper sulfate. I don't know. I think that's what it's called. Anyways, a mineral that we give our cows. They can eat it free choice, type thing. And she had an idea, because we do get blight here and with tomatoes. So her idea was to put a little bit in the tomato. I don't know if she ever did it.
Yeah, there's some stuff about like putting a nail in a tomato and all that stuff, but I'm not. When we're doing it for money, I can't.
Yeah,
I
you
can't
can't
risk it, yeah.
experiment.
So, and they.
But I mean, you don't know anything. Like nobody's done this, and it's not like a thing. So you know that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna stick with things I know will produce.
Okay.
Let's see. Closer to the mic.
Closer
Okay.
to the mic,
Yeah.
right? Okay, there we go. It started again.
He really set up the water.
Yeah, man. We just gotta remember to turn
Okay.
it off.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, they can hear us.
Real
Okay,
quick,
good.
anything else on carrots? Anybody?
She
got that?
said everyone was saying yes. Audio just went out. Oh no, audio's out again when you move the mic. Now it's gone. Pulled the mic out. I wonder.
So do you have to somehow get it
Hello,
to it?
hello. Can you hear?
There.
Or is it
But
bad?
it's so low.
Mute controls. Okay. Hello? Can you hear us?
Yeah, we have.
Let's go back. It must be a bad cord.
Okay.
You were back.
Somebody, can you hear us now? We're gonna just have to use the computer mic. Hopefully,
Okay, back
Okay,
on.
back on.
enough.
All right.
you people on the side are gonna have to. You guys stay there. It's fine, and I'll lean forward. That way we'll all be close to the mic.
Special colored carrots. We grow purple ones and other stuff. Purple is supposed to have, I think, anthocyanins in it. So whether it does or not, I don't know.
Okay, I fixed the carrots. The
Thank
carrots
you.
are being watered as we speak.
Thank you.
Okay.
He's laughing about that.
What I missed? Did you do what you sick?
We were just talking about carrots.
I didn't say this was for Casey, but it ought to be, huh? When you're sick or have flare-ups and an illness, how do you motivate yourself to get up and do your chores every day, especially if your body hurts that day? So for us, we have mostly animals. So if we don't get up, they either get hurt,
or they die.
sick, or die.
Yeah.
So you recently were sick
Yeah.
as a dog.
Um.
And how'd you get up? They weren't animals. They weren't going to die.
Well, we have to keep our business consistent to keep it
Yeah.
a realistic thing. That's the biggest motivator, I guess. But the other thing is like, nobody really cares that I was sick. So
We
Yeah.
cared.
no, I mean like
I
our
know.
customers, like they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah, they
have my
still
stuff
have to
this
eat.
week, like, ooh,
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
I mean that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Like that's just the nature of doing this kind of stuff. Is
Mhm.
you can't call off sick.
You can go to Walmart and buy groceries even if Sam Walton's sick.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you recommend to plant in a fall garden in Pennsylvania?
Everything you would plant in the spring except tomatoes and cucumbers. Any cold season crop.
Which are? Name a
Kale,
few-
collards, greens,
Sal-
and
lettuce.
to make it easy, greens and roots is the easiest thing. You can
Cabbage. The brassica family.
brassicas. They're called cold crops. So,
Okay.
your brassicas, your kale.
Well,
chard.
garlic you plant in the fall and you
Garlic you plant in the fall and
harvest
over
in
winter.
the summer,
Yeah,
end of beginning of spring,
Ken says we
end
care.
of spring. Yeah.
So if you're
Okay,
in
wait
Florida,
1 second.
Go ahead.
There's two questions.
1 to 2 inches on carrots.
1 to 2 inches of spacing, and then blight a problem only in the south or in cooler climates also.
So, what was that? Okay.
Is blight a problem?
It's probably an issue up north too. I'm sure it is, but it's worse in the south, and the season for it to infect plants is longer. So a real quick thing about fungal issues: you need 3 things for a fungus to develop. You need a susceptible host, which every single thing in a garden is. You need a pathogen present, which you can guarantee they're going to be there. And then the third thing is you need the right environment.
It doesn't work.
Okay. So if somebody's wanting to build a raised bed in Florida, what materials should they use to fill their raised bed?
Someone said if you're sick, wouldn't expect them to pick my food. Tori actually handled it on the harvesting. For real, I'm serious. Like
Safe
You were-
handling.
I
You
washed
were-
everything
Safe
and washed my
handling.
hands, but I don't think anybody was gonna get what I got because of the nature of it.
Mhm.
But I still wash my hands a lot, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just made sure.
So raised beds, Florida. That's probably, if you're
Um,
making a raised bed, wouldn't it be the same material anywhere?
Yeah. What did you guys use? It's
We
probably
use cedar.
We bought it. No,
What?
they're asking for
to
the
fill it.
soil, I think.
Oh, we bought like compost. We bought like compost basically.
Yeah.
These
So-
people make their own soil from
Well, we
like
filled a third of it with logs.
with logs.
And then the other 2/3
Yeah.
with compost material.
You can do
Bought local.
if y'all follow Pete from Green Dreams. I would imagine that he would use a native soil mix, compost, and then he would probably put wood chips and biochar on the top because of the heavy rains in Florida and the fact that it's raised. It would drain better, but also in Florida, the wood chips work a lot better than in this area because they have the chance to decompose all year
That's true.
because the soil is warm enough.
All right. So if I make my own compost. It's beautiful. We have lots of black, swampy, sandy soil, and we have access to fresh manure. Is there a mixture that you suggest? Other things we should add, or growing season begins in September? It sounds like if you've got beautiful compost, you're good.
Black, swampy, sandy soil is pretty ideal. With access to fresh
And
manure.
you've got manure. So would you ask?
If you
suggest
I'd put
anything
the
else?
manure down. Yeah, I did get what Bree had, but I had it before and for a lot longer.
We've heard that.
If you
Okay.
have that soil, where's this at?
It's right here.
Okay, and your growing season begins in September. You want to put the manure down before, so it has time to break down.
Yeah.
So you don't risk any poo, food safety issues.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would suggest is to get a soil test, and then if you need to add amendments to get your chemistry right before you add on all that compost, do that because it's pretty cheap for the amount of production you'll get from it. So it's like $25 for a soil test, and then you get nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and like micronutrients, maybe azomite or something like that, and balance the chemistry out, and then your compost will be even more effective because your soil is balanced.
So another one asking, I want to feed my pigs and chickens from the garden, as from for me and for the chickens and pigs. What should I grow for them? So what I would generally say to do, what we do is grow what you like to eat, and just grow more of that. And if you have failure, that's great. You've lost some, but then you have enough for yourself. But if you did fine, you have extra. We had so much extra this year, remember? And we fed it to both the chickens and the pigs, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing to source our own animals' feed from a garden that's just right next door to them. That was just so amazing, and that's got to be so good for them and for us. And but I would not. I would suggest for starting out on that. You say you live in Minnesota, so the weather can vary. Yes. You said you're not much of a gardener. I enjoy the livestock better. Yeah, and that's not uncommon that you would enjoy a certain element more than another. If you don't like to eat vegetables and you want to plant something for the animals, you might consider an edible cover crop. I think even Johnny Seeds has an edible seed pack for chickens, where you can throw out forage that's going to be for chickens, and grains for pigs. But really, I would just suggest just grow some stuff for you, grow extra, and just feed it to pigs. But starting out, do a base feed of commercial bought mix. We use Reedy Fork Organic Farm for your chickens, and then for your pigs. Here's one for Casey. What are a few ways I can garden without pain? Thank you. So, Casey, just a few tips on making gardening a little bit easier.
Most of the pain really is mental, like screwing stuff up. But if you have back pain, kneeling, using knee pads, I'm actually gonna spend like $200 on this thing called Muscle RX, where they feel your back, and like Tori had a neck issue from CrossFit, and they went in and pulled these neck muscles, and she was and couldn't move her neck, and she came home like, and
Wow.
then so then they have like these follow up things. But I mean, if you're in a lot of pain and it's like some kind of back pain, I think it's important to get it taken care of.
Chiropractor could probably help.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't even barely crack my own back, but these muscle people are like real.
What
They-
do they do? What do they use?
They use their hands and like,
Is it trigger point
I have no clue.
or is it like myofascial?
Does
I
it
don't know.
hurt or feel good when they're doing it?
It hurts. It
It's
hurt
trigger
Tori.
point.
I
bet
haven't
it's
done it.
trigger point.
I haven't done it, but I'm gonna go there
Because
and
we
like.
went to a trigger point guy, and it hurts, but then it feels better.
Yeah, no, that's the point, because you know, if you're working awkward and all these
Mhm.
things for so long, at least in my mind, like climbing trees is really hard on your body, and like my hands would hurt and my back would hurt like all the time, but it's from like awkwardly doing things, and then your muscles grow and like make up they take the spot to hold things together or whatever, but I think it's just really important to get it right.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna do that this winter.
definitely. To take care of yourself is important.
Yeah, that's an important thing. But if you're listening, I don't know what kind of pain you have, and I'm not a doctor. I'm sorry.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
Disclaimer. What's
Okay.
that thing called? Muscle
So
RX?
anyway,
Yeah.
Adam says he likes your tool with the hook you made on top of it.
Oh, nice. Thanks,
Um,
Adam.
That leads us
I-
into Adam's. Go ahead. You
Oh,
saying
this
something?
is no.
That leads us into Adam's question. Best way to dry up a milking cow. Adam, you got to get the book Keeping a Family Cow by Joanne Groman. She has a nice plan. It's on page 79 for drying off a milk cow, but this is what we did. It's a little bit different. I was going off of my cow coach at our father's farm. We separate the calf from the mom, so the calf's got to be in a separate field. It's got to be that way for months if you want to integrate the calf back and her not nurse. It's got to be months, like 3 or 4 months. So what we do is sell the calf. I don't know what we'll do when we have a little bull calf if we're gonna raise him to eat. I guess cross that bridge when we get there.
There is
So
a ring that you can put in their
oh,
nose
okay.
that if it doesn't hurt them. It's not
Yeah.
like a piercing ring. It just because it's open in there.
Yep.
So it just clamps in there, and it has like spikes at the end. So they go to nurse, and the mom gets the spikes, and they're not like sharp. They're
Yeah.
plastic, but it's painful for her.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
she
shoot.
kicks off the baby,
When
and then they get
So-
weaned.
I'm going to tell you guys, all this is in the show notes. I totally forgot to do that. I totally forgot to put the link. Guys, I've got the answers to all these. You don't have to scramble with notes. I'm going to put it in the show notes before this is over. I just realized I forgot to do that. But anyway, then milk the cow once a day. She's been separated from the calf. Cut her, hopefully, Adam, I know you are. You're feeding alfalfa in the stanchion. Cut that ration in half for a week. Milk as usual. And then the next week, totally drop it. Totally stop milking. Joanne Groman has a little bit of a different take on it. You just stop for 3 days, and then you milk again, and then you stop. So, and then during that time that you've stopped milking completely, you do want to check the udder. It's going to be full. You just don't want it to be hot. You don't want to see her like laying down or not eating or something like that. Then you're going to have to intervene and drain that udder. But we just drained Phyllis that way, and it went pretty smooth. So, Adam, you asked how Rebecca renders lard. I'm going to put that in the show notes because we render lard like Michael Murray told us to render lard from Part-Time Permies in his book. It's available to the people to all you in the premium annual, but I'm going to link that section in the show notes so you guys can get everybody in this webinar can go and get how to do that. Okay. And once these guys are going answering some questions, I'll get in there and I'll put these notes in the show notes. You may, and Casey's got a question coming up after this, so maybe I'll do it then. You may have answered this previously, and I think you mentioned something on the blog once about it being on family land, but how did you acquire your land? That's a really good question. I am on family land, and my dad owned it, and was going to pass it down to all his children. Well, I'm the only one who's interested in it, so to be fair, I have to buy it from the family, or I shouldn't say have to. I should change my have tos to my get tos, as Zig Ziglar says. So I get to buy it from my father. It's a owner financing situation. It's a 30-year mortgage. I'd rather pay interest all day long to my dad than to the bank. So we're pretty happy about that. But we are paying for it. And, there are other people who have found owner financing when they can't get a loan from the bank with complete strangers. So it is out there.
Patty, where would they find? Did the beef butchering class get put in the member area?
Yeah,
or no?
beef butchering, chicken butchering, pig butchering. If you're a premium annual, it's there to you. And if you are not a premium annual and you want to be that, just reach out. Just text me or email my assistant Heather at Abundant Permaculture. I'll put it in the chat here.
So Patty, I think that that it would be similar. I did not read through the pig. I looked at it and I showed Justin where it's at, but I didn't actually read. But for tallow, I would render it in the oven and I would stir it every 15 minutes. And I know there's good tutorials online for that. So yeah, I mean, we know several people that have owner financed with people that they were buying their land from, and it's worked out really great. I mean, you go through a lawyer; it's all legit. It's all.
Yeah.
It's not like
and don't you have to find one that's for sale by owner?
Yeah, a for sale by owner.
Okay.
Well, the people that we know, they could only finance a certain amount of acreage, and they were going through realtors. And they ended up writing a note to the owner and asking if he would finance so many acres because they could only get funding for 10 acres. The bank wouldn't loan them any more for the additional acreage. So it worked out for that. I mean, it seems like it's worked really good for them.
This is good, Case. This is for question. What type of watering schedule is best for the winter? Like, can you water in the winter because it's gonna freeze? On the plants.
You want to water like now if your plants are outside in a garden and not in a tunnel or something, what's gonna kill your winter crops the most is cold wind, and then so that causes, I think the term is desiccation. One of the things you have to realize with your plants is that they're constantly releasing water, always, to create a microclimate around their leaf. So they're trying to make their own little world. And when the wind comes, it blows that water away from the outside of the leaf. So that's, when you have a windy day and your plants are wilting faster than normal, that's why. And the act of the plant releasing water is what sucks water in through the roots. That I think it's transpiration or evapotranspiration.
Listen to you.
Yeah, this whole thing. But
he's got his notes behind. Y'all cannot see that.
So think of the water leaving the plant. That's what's pulling it up. So now when you get into the winter, if just straight up easy, if your soil's dry, just water it. But water your plants. Try and keep it off the foliage if possible. Water it at depending on where you're at. In our area, 10 to 10:30. It's like any frost is gone. It's about to be 40 to 50 degrees, for the rest of the day, and it will dry by nighttime. And if it's under row cover, you're going to have that microclimate keep water in, so you don't have to water as much. But
so a tape would be really good, like a drip tape.
Yeah.
Would be better in the winter. It's
maybe because if the soil gets cold enough, it will freeze, and if you have water in the plastic connectors, they can crack.
Oh.
I water our tunnels in the winter by hand. Like,
Because it's
yeah,
easiest.
the tunnels will heat up during the day and cool down a lot at night and condensate on the top, and so it like drips down on the plants all
You
day.
don't need it.
And rarely ever do you really have to water. This is North Carolina I'm talking about, so um,
It's different in
Yeah.
other climates.
it can be one of the best things that you can do is really learn, take the knowledge of that the plant is always releasing water and take your microclimate into consideration, and
Good.
yeah, just check the soil. Same thing with carrots. Put your finger in the soil. If it's moist, you're good.
My lettuce that I planted a few weeks back didn't do so well. This is for you, Casey. I had pretty good germination and things weren't going well. Were going well. But then the bugs started getting to them and perhaps the hot sun wasn't helping. Though they are in the shade of a large oak until about 11 a.m. So I think I'm just going to replant that bed. Any tips on keeping insects away from lettuce and protecting them from the sun?
Casey and I were having this discussion out there at my lettuce.
Yeah.
Oh, you were?
Probably caterpillars eating it, and you can put it under row cover, especially if you have the shade, to keep the insects away. If it is caterpillars and it's really, really damaging, one of the things that I do with our flame weeder is if we have bad insect pressure, I'll go out there and like totally blast the bed to kill the bugs and then replant. So, BT is a spray that you could use for caterpillars too. It's not synthetic at all, but it's not really that crazy. Yeah, this is peak pest and fungal time of the year, so there's this challenge of like summer harvest, keeping summer weeds down, and then you put fall planting on top of that, with all the pests and things. So it's a challenge, but if you're able to put row cover over it, do that. Insect netting too.
We bought some insect netting today, guys.
Yeah, it's expensive, but it's gonna last a long time, and it's gonna make a huge difference.
How do you store it when you're not using the insect netting? Like,
Um,
what's the best way?
You know what daisy chaining is?
No.
So like you take a rope and you like loop it and loop it through itself.
Okay.
I'll send you a picture.
Okay.
But it takes, we have 100-foot
Yeah.
pieces that will then be like as long as the table,
Mm-hmm.
and then we just stack them in the
Okay.
corner of the shed.
Okay.
The garden shed downstairs is fine.
Yeah, I was thinking I would maybe get some Rubbermaid
Yeah.
things.
Tori puts them in totes.
And put them in totes, and then we can stack them,
Mhm.
and then they're kind of out of the way, and
Yeah.
they're not, because like right now we just have them piled.
You gotta
and
worry
that's
about
not good.
you gotta worry about black widows and stuff, like grabbing them.
We don't have black widows. It's crap getting stuck on them, like when you're, and then they
Oh, yeah.
rip.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's more like what
Yeah,
we've
they
concerned
rip.
about. I never even thought about black widows. Thanks for scaring me.
All right.
Watering in winter in South Dakota probably is.
Yes.
I mean, you
don't-
probably have snow cover. I'd hope.
I was gonna say, which if you have
Okay.
snow cover, that's probably good because that's
Mm-hmm.
melting, and it also is
insulator.
insulation.
So you mentioned in a vlog that you wanted to get a guard goose for your chickens. I have a guard goose for every single one of my chickens. It would, why only one? A male and a female pair would be great to have some little geese, goslings with. So you can get geese for goslings and raise geese. That's fine. Just don't expect them to guard your chickens. You got to trick a goose into thinking it's a chicken. And so to do that, keep it alone with the chickens. Otherwise, they get all goosey with each other and they forget about the chicks and predators are getting them.
So they will be somewhat protective, but not necessarily of the chickens. Like,
We have 2 geese.
Geese can still protect some, but it won't necessarily protect.
We have 2 geese,
100%.
and
Do they still protect?
yeah, but they're not like your goose. It's like
They're not like
they
Donald.
they do their thing, and they're really aware, but
Right.
they're like a team, but they're not like
They're not
on the
right.
protected.
They're not like I'm a chicken.
Okay.
no.
See, like
They
Donald
know-
thinks he's a chicken.
Yeah,
like, he
they-
really does.
They know that they're geese.
It's all he's got. It's all he's got. Sea monsters.
I know those poor fat sea
All right.
monsters.
This is a good one for you, Casey. What is the quickest crop to turn over and sell? Herbs, vegetables? That's from Robert Schumann. Thanks for signing your name there, Robert. When you guys submit questions beforehand, sign your names and we'll address you. So, quickest crop to turn over and sell.
The quickest crop is that will actually sell is probably arugula.
Really?
Yeah, people don't.
How
well,
fast does it go? Like
It takes a month,
30 days.
and then I can easily sell. I don't know, 10 to 20 pounds a week, probably.
Wow.
But it takes 30 days. Radishes are really fast, but people, radishes are kind of gross, really, unless you cook them right. So people don't buy them as much.
Are you answering the goose questions?
Yeah.
Okay, Rebecca's going to answer the geese questions in the chat. I'm going to keep going. We got a lot of questions to cover
Have you
tonight.
thought about doing? I won't ask this then.
How can you fertilize fruit trees? Is there a way to incorporate some of the animal manure? We have a cow, pigs, and chickens. Is there a difference between fruit and evergreen trees? Fruit trees and evergreen trees. So how can you go about fertilizing trees? Or should you even worry
Before
about it?
that, you can do microgreens. That's faster. That's like a week, but that's just like getting seeds to germinate and then cutting them. So anybody can do it. Fruit trees, fertilizing fruit trees.
They want to know why you're thinking about that, Casey. I'm going to answer this Roman tufted question. We got the Roman tufted because we only had two choices: Roman tufted Chinese versus the Chinese, and the Roman tufted was smaller.
Well,
I believe we liked that it was white.
And it was when I was researching geese, it said that they actually guarded the Romans.
Yeah.
Way back when, so it's kind of like in their thing.
They used them in military way back in ancient military they would squawk and squeal and they would see the predators coming, in that case the enemy, and alert with their squawking.
I think the more like pretty geese, like there's I don't know, I can't remember it, Sebastopol or something like that. I don't know if it would make a good guard goose. Because I actually was looking at getting one of those.
These
Justin
breeds
was like,
have been
don't
bred.
look at that one.
These geese have been bred and selected for generations to guard. So they just tend to be a little bit better.
Yeah, the fruit trees.
Yeah, fruit trees. Fertilizing.
You can put the manure on top and throw some mulch over it or something and let it work its way in. I wouldn't cultivate it in because of shallow roots of the fruit tree. Fruit trees and evergreens, there's a big difference on. Trees are a little different than getting into just a garden bed because the soil really matters, but your amendments get to be a little different. That's the best thing I can say. That is, take your whatever your fruit tree is, like apple, pear, whatever, and then look for things that work to that particular species because they're different and they need different things. There's not like a fertilizer that you just throw down that's good for all of them.
There's guilds.
Yeah, you have planting guilds.
For fruit trees.
Yeah, there's the whole permaculture aspect of having your guilds and your perennials with your trees.
Permaculture orchard speaks about that, and then if you want to get that video.
There's a movie called Permaculture Orchard. It's actually on Amazon now. So
we visited him, Stefan.
Yeah, so search YouTube Justin Rhodes for Permaculture Orchard, and that movie will come. Our coverage of him will come up. It's good. So Casey, this is a good one for you. This is a market gardener, buddy.
Nice.
When we put our market garden to bed this fall, what is your order of operations to be ready to go in the spring? We have access to manure, silage tarps, BCS with a precision depth roller, and a broad fork. So basically, how I take that is, what are you doing now to put? What can they do now to put their beds to sleep to be ready in the spring?
Broad fork it. Put your amendments down. Use the precision depth roller to, whether you're going to go an inch in or whatnot, just to smooth your bed, and then put your tarp on it. And then occasionally, when you know that you're going to get a good rain that'll last like all day, pull the tarp back off so that the rain will hit it and it stays moist. That way your worms
Ooh,
and your soil life have,
take notes.
We,
Yeah, have
we
that-
tarped that one.
yeah. And then
So
so
we thought it'd be better if we tarped it before we composted.
throughout last winter, I think I probably pulled the tarp off 5 times for rain, and yeah, it makes a difference.
Okay.
But that's what I would do. You want your
Alright.
amendments to sit. You want to put your amendments in the fall where it's warm enough for them to be broken down in your
More
soil,
time.
and then they'll sit under the tarp, which is warmer, and then your soil life will still like act on it or underneath the tarp because it will keep it warmer. And then in the spring, when you're ready to plant, pull the tarps and you're good to go.
The next question's asking Rebecca on her show on making yogurt, cultured cream, etc. This person's buying raw milk and making butter, but she's interested in the cream separator and the many ways you process milk. So I'm gonna go ahead.
You that link
Re-
for the raw milk.
Me. So I'm gonna go
Yeah.
ahead. What I'm gonna do to answer that
Mhm.
is I'm actually gonna answer it in the show notes with a
Okay.
bunch of links to the videos we already have.
Okay. I don't
So-
have a video for the cultured cream.
So let me get you.
Do you
No,
want me
we
to,
don't.
Do you want me to type in what
But
to do?
I'll do it, or you'll do
So-
it when I pull it up. But
Okay. That person wants to know if they BCS again in the spring before planting.
If you need to, you probably won't. But if you run the PDR over it, like at a 1/2 inch, and just prep a new seed bed, you'll be good.
at what age should I put nesting boxes in with my chicks? They are almost 4 months old. I would put them in now because they could start laying at 5 months old. 5 to 10 months they start laying, so get it in now. And when do you switch to layer feed? If you're gonna switch to layer feed, you don't have to. You could keep feeding hens starter feed or grower feed if you just provide a supplemental calcium like crushed eggshells or something. But if you are going to switch, do it when you get your first egg. It doesn't have to be a first egg from everybody. You get one egg, it's safe to switch over to layer. For Casey, what would be the most efficient, inexpensive way to heat a hoop greenhouse over the winter? So they're wanting to
sun.
actually do a heated.
The sun.
Yeah, so
Oh,
maybe a heated greenhouse is maybe somewhat
Yeah.
overrated
Well,
if you just grow hardy.
it depends on where you're at. For real cheap though, I mean, to really be like real cheap, the sun is the way to go.
He's not trying to be a smart aleck.
No, I'm not.
He's
It's
totally.
the sun and row covers, and what you're really trying to do with if you're growing in the soil that is in your winter greenhouse, if it's unheated, is you're trying to maximize the heat from the sun to warm the soil to keep the plants warm overnight. And if not that, like I don't know where you're at, if you, where you live, here, we've gotten damage at 9 degrees and no damage at like 17. But if it got down real cold, I would go out at night with a little propane tank and just turn it on and like sit in there and wait till it heated up, just enough to combat that cold settling on the plants.
All right, you ready for the next
yeah.
one? Okay.
Is that a propane tank heater?
Yeah, just the little thing that screws in.
Okay.
If you have like an actual greenhouse already, I would look for a used heater, and if you have a friend that can hook it up, something like that. But most people use propane, I think, to heat their stuff. If you can burn wood in there, like wood is free, pretty much.
You can make like a barrel
Yeah,
with stove.
just keep the heat going.
Yeah. Do you think sawdust would work in the pig port as the carbon? Its carbon value is higher for compost, but I worry it's too dusty or soft for pigs. That's from Chelsea. So actually, one of my inspirations for the deep bedding mulch system was actually a system called the Korean Natural Method. I linked it in the show notes. You can totally geek out on that. They call for like 4 feet of sawdust, something crazy like that. So it's
Dang.
actually and it has a commercial raising system for raising pigs, and sawdust tends to be one of the easiest carbon sources for commercial operations to get a hold of. So it's based on that. So given that, I would say it would be okay. But go check it out. I've left the link in the description. I know you used to mix your own feeds. How long did you successfully store the whole grains? Most people talk online about 6 to 12 months, but they are talking about human consumptions, not animals. I'm trying to decide if I can make a tote from Rita Fork for me, since it's so much cheaper. Totes are so much cheaper. Whole grains are so much cheaper. And I thought they would last inevitably.
They last about 30 years, whole grains.
30 years, guys. 30 years, whole grains. It's only when you begin to grind them that they begin to lose their nutrients. And actually, they lose it in 3 months.
Yeah, so
But that's only if you grind it. So stay dry.
a whole
not
grain,
gotten
a whole grain
wet.
that is not just like in the weather and stuff like that, I think would be just fine for a really long time.
So, do you think the pig port would work primarily on food waste? Yes, I'm actually feeding them on primarily food waste. I've probably fed my 2 pigs out there
I fed them
a bag of grain, 50 pounds of grain over the whole time so far. So I would think, though, you're going to have enough. You're going to have, by the time these guys are 7 months old going into harvest, they probably need at least 10, 12 pounds of food scraps a day. Okay, so the weight of the milk you're feeding them, the weight of cow manure, the weight of vegetables you're feeding them, the weight of the meat and veggie scraps coming out of your kitchen, accounting for that, getting it to them. If you don't have that weight of the day, you'll need to compensate it with some grain. But yeah, pigs are amazing. We had a chicken pie last night, some raccoon or something, and then we picked up manure after Flossie after milking. Guess where all that farm waste went?
Pork.
Pork, bacon, and sausage. Out of dead chickens and manure.
That's crazy. That is absolutely insane.
Is that not a miracle?
It's disgusting, but it
nature's
works.
most wonderful miracle.
It's a magic trick.
Whatever works. Okay. When you're ready, I would love to know more about the cool room build. How it was constructed, cost, performance. There's a corner of my barn I might use for something like that. So it's costing us about $3,000 to $4,000. That's what it's going to cost you, depending on how much you get somebody to help. Or you can totally bare bones it. How much did it cost you?
It's like $1,500. But I used the back half of our garage, and then Jason actually came and he built the front wall with me.
Yeah.
And then we just exchanged work, and I helped him.
You guys did
I helped him with his garden, setting up his beds. Yeah. But other than that, we use the same insulation and stuff. It's if you guys look at CoolBot's website, they have a ton of. They answer everything because they want to sell their CoolBots because they work. But
yeah.
But people aren't.
You should look at our cooler.
It's super nice.
Does it pass the test?
Yeah, it passed the test. You should see my cooler. You walk in and be like, what?
Okay, so you can spend anywhere between $1,500. Our door alone was what, $1,000?
The door was it was $1,300 because we had to pay for shipping.
Yeah.
Of course we paid Jason.
And he worked. Jason worked on it 9 days, 10 days, full time.
8-hour days.
So do think about that. If you're gonna have one as legit as ours, it's gonna and Jason knows what he's doing as a carpenter. So
yeah, and he
probably gonna take you a normal person 14 days to build that equipment.
He did a really good job. He was meticulous.
Yeah,
he is.
Which
he knows what's up.
So
we were very appreciative of that.
I linked to the inspiration for our build, and it gave us a great start. So it's in the show notes. How do you start a compost pile from scratch? We don't have any animals to kickstart the pile in the cooking mode. Thanks, Hollis. So I'm assuming you're lacking a nitrogen source. I'm assuming you have a carbon source. Usually carbon is really hard for people to get a hold of. That could be sawdust, leaves, old dry hay, or similar. But if you're lacking a nitrogen, you may have a better idea for this. But for the most people, the common people, without all these crazy animals with 40 pounds of manure every day, grass clippings.
Pee.
Is there a better? Pete?
Pee.
Pee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So go out there and pee on the compost.
Yeah. Grass clippings is a big one.
Because that,
really
but you have to feed that fresh for it to be a nitrogen, right?
You want it to be fresh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not-
okay, so speaking of pee though, I mean, you get you a lovable loo. It's a frame with a toilet seat on it, built over a bucket, and just pee in it, right? We're not asking you to humanure yet, right?
Yeah.
We'll break you in easy.
I
Just pee in it.
we had a compost pile in our when where you guys came
Yeah.
to the on the farm tour.
Yeah.
And the little compost thing, I peed on it like all the time. For real. I peed on it all the time and it made a huge
Yeah.
difference. And then this guy I know wrote a book called The Bio-Integrated Farm, and he
Oh.
straight up pees on his compost.
Did we have that book?
You
We had
probably
a book, something
It's
like
from
that.
Sean.
Okay, that's
Johnny.
good.
Okay, Ben Whitener.
So we're not kidding. We're not kidding. Pee is a great nitrogen source. Poop is too, but we won't go there yet.
Can't poop off the porch, but you can pee off of it.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
Are you having a hard
sorry.
time hearing us now?
Did I
No
make
sound?
it hard to read, or no? I think I made it loud. I'm sorry. I am trying to
Oh,
type.
let's see
It's hard.
Let's. Oh, you might be covering the mic when you're doing that.
Okay.
Where's our?
I don't even know where the mic is on that thing.
Okay, we're still. At such
We're
a
we're
minimum.
still working. I think I just jacked
Okay.
up people who were using.
All right, be
um,
careful when you type this thing.
Sorry. Okay, Ben Whitener. He was wanting to know if they could, if like pigs and chickens could do. Oh, it was a very loud noise. Sorry. If they could just eat whole grains, if they didn't need all those things that are added in to the grind mixture. I thought they could. So, oh, Jason's here.
Yay!
What's up,
Hey,
Jason?
we were
just talking about
you,
you.
bro. We were just talking about the cool room and what an awesome carpenter you were. Attention to detail. We were talking about the, you know, you could do the. You could do the. It's the delay on the computer.
Yeah, I know. When you look at it, it
You
messes
could do
up.
the $1,500 cool room. Put up a
Mhm.
wall in the end of the garage, or you could do a whole box in your house like us. So 1,500 to 4K, depending on how much you do yourself, how much you can work out a trade with a carpenter or pay a carpenter or whatever.
Okay, so Ben Whitener was wanting to know about the grain. Can we?
What does he want to know?
Okay, so can you just use whole grains? Because when they make the mixture, they add in like the vitamins and like all that stuff in the grind.
Yeah, I'll put a link. I don't know, because we did just fine when we were just making it, but we were adding NutriBalancer,
NutriBalancer for
so
the
that was a
chickens.
lot of the minerals, guys. That was a lot of that stuff. So NutriBalancer, and we were putting fish meal in it for the protein too, guys. So you got to have the protein in there if you're mixing your own food and those minerals. So I don't even think I have a blog on it, but the Prairie Homestead does, and it's my feed mix. She says it in art. This is Justin Rose's feed mix.
Yeah,
So I'll add that to the show notes.
I think we did a video
You did.
once with it, with you mixing it.
I'll look that up. Boy, I'm getting behind. I got to get you guys answering some of these questions so I can type these.
I
Answer
know
this stuff
he's
in.
hogging it all. He's hogging it
Ah.
all, Casey. You see what I deal with.
Unreal.
What all went into the decision to switch to Reedy Fork? That's pretty easy. I mean, Reedy Fork Organic and New Country Organic. Reedy Fork is from North Carolina, and Reedy Fork is starting to take interest in helping the homestead community and the food growing community. So I'm all about going with that. Okay, I can actually have a relationship with them.
Shipping is
Um,
a little bit cheaper because they are closer.
yeah.
Because we're shipping from Virginia.
I like the team building you are doing with different homestead YouTubers. Do you think they will be able to be accessed as easily as you are in the future? That's just a personal preference from them. Rebecca and I have always been open-handed. I don't know if that's what you want to call it, but we've just put ourselves out there. This guy, I guess you emailed us. You're a prime example. You emailed us as a total stranger
Yeah,
and said, "Can we come visit?" And we said yes,
that was in like
and we've been friends ever since.
I think you had 40,000 subscribers when we did that.
Did you really? But nothing has really changed. If anybody that wants to, if they just go through the correct measures, can come and see us. And so that's going to be on other YouTubers. Jason's pretty open about visitors.
Yeah,
Just
don't show up at people's places.
no,
That's
do
like
not
the
show
worst
up.
thing.
Especially don't not show up here. I'm tempted to make a video because it happens too often. People show up here, and irritable Justin comes out. That's for sure.
I know. I have to tell him to be nice.
And I feel so terrible, but come on. It's our
just,
house.
It's
It's
just
our
hard
private
when
house.
people show up and you're just kind of like, because I want my kids to be safe.
We had somebody show up on Father's Day, unannounced. Now, would
It
we
was
have
Mother's Day.
if somebody would have Mother's
was
Day
Father's
coming
Day.
at yours? So
Today.
we would
Father's Day.
we would take somebody on Father's Day, Mother's Day. Chores still got to be done. You can follow along with chores.
Yeah,
Just don't
but
be coming when we're all.
When we're trying
Got
to
our garden.
have family time.
we get people that show up at our place and like knock on the door or like people drive around to the back. Like I can see out the bathroom window and like I'm like pooping. Like get out of my driveway, dude. Like I'm gonna put a gate up here soon because it's crazy and it's annoying.
Casey just wants to go to the bathroom in
I know.
peace, y'all.
Yeah, like this dude rode up with his son. I was like, what? In a golf cart? I'm like, where'd you even come from? And I'm
legal.
in the bathroom. I'm like, dude.
Adam would bring flowers.
Yeah, you better be announced with those flowers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Creepers. Oh, there was some. There was
Visiting
some.
is one thing, but those are called creepers.
There was some
pretty
greenhouse stuff earlier up north. Yeah, you're definitely Elliot Coleman's Winter Harvest Handbook. Read that one. It's really easy to read. And
You gotta start updating those notes.
yeah, up north, ask another grower because the cold is the cold. So we grew up in Ohio, but I always worked with trees and not vegetables. So
All right. The 4-hour work week showed me how lazy I am. Did you also come to this conclusion? If so, how did you motivate yourself to stop wasting time? Such a silly question as I type it. No silly question here, Daniel. Well, my situation, maybe it's unique. Getting a real job, getting a real or normal job is just not an option for us. It's just not an option for me. It never has been. It hasn't been since I worked at Walmart when I was 16 years old. Worked there for 6 weeks. You done.
Okay, so when you
And
read
I
the
have
4
never
hour,
turned back.
when you read the 4-hour work week,
Yeah.
you
That-
were sick
That was
with Lyme
all or
disease.
nothing. I was going to start this business, or because we had already maxed out all our credit cards, we were
Well,
already on
no,
food assistance,
yeah.
we were about to have to sell part of the farm. So I had to be motivated. It's like I have to feed the animals. I have to be motivated, or I'm actually not going to be able to buy food next week. And that's how bad
Yeah.
it got. So
I think
to
we
get-
do have a unique situation because we were in such dire situation. Like
We
when
got
you
hungry.
are that
and
down
scared.
and at the bottom of the barrel where you're like, I can't get another credit card. I can't get a loan from the bank. Like I'm gonna have to
I
go
couldn't
groveling
get
to like
a
our
normal
parents.
job because of the Lyme disease.
And
I was
you
having
were
to take
sick.
naps.
Yeah.
I was on all these crazy medicines. We
I
had
mean,
to eat a certain way.
Our family was already helping us so much. We didn't want to ask them. You
Yeah.
know, like they were already giving, not necessarily monetarily, but like giving us help, like helping us hands on. And so, I mean, it was like, I think when you get that far down, you're just like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And, you know, people sometimes want, not all people, but, you know, we've had comments like, oh, you're so lucky. I'm like, no, like we worked really hard.
Mhm.
Like nobody saw us in 2015 staying up till midnight working on permaculture chickens and, you know, trying to start abundant permaculture. Like nobody saw that because we weren't doing YouTube and we were just nobodies. And then we started vlogging in 2016 and, you know, and then we grew like really fast, which we didn't expect any of that to happen. So it's like, it's hard because
It was make this work or go hungry. So
or sell our
sell
farm.
the farm. So and that wasn't sustainable, and people helping us wouldn't be sustainable either because it's like That would be them giving us a fish instead of teaching us how to fish.
Yeah.
So we had to teach ourselves to fish, so to speak. So we had to make it. And online business seemed the best way for us to do it, and online content creation, because that was something, and to mix it with what we were doing with farming, because we could go out and farm a little bit. I could handle that physically, and then I could come in and rest, so to speak, getting on the computer. Now, to stay focused and prioritize, every day I can remember doing this in my journal. And now it's just more automatic, but I would write down what my financial goal is. What do I want to make per month, or what do I want to accomplish? I would write down my goal, and then I would write out my to-do list for that day to accomplish that goal. And it'd be anything that came to my mind, I would throw it out there. And then I would say, okay, what are the what's on this to-do list that is going to be the easiest but yet most effective for getting me to my financial goal? And I can remember early on in those days, it was building the email lists. It was partnering with other influencers to get borrowing their audiences, so to speak. So doing launches with them where they would promote the product and get a high commission, see. So just focusing on what I thought would give us the biggest return for the least amount of work. And then if I got 2 of those done, and there are 8 more on this list, guess what? Those 2 were going to be 80% of the benefit anyway, right? And if I would have focused on those 8 at the bottom, that would only have been 20% of the resources. It's the classic 80-20 rules. The
Pareto principle.
There you go. And you read about it in the 4-Hour Workweek, I'm sure, of Tim Ferriss. So don't get me started on business.
I know.
We
We
talk
forever.
Don't get
Casey
Rebecca
will
started on
never.
health. What gets you excited? What do you like to talk about?
I like the business stuff too. I've been getting into it a lot more.
Casey, would
Good.
you recommend Ruth Stout's writings for Up North Growing?
Oh boy,
I've never heard of her. Sorry, or him.
she's deep mulch.
Oh, I don't know.
She's like the original, buddy.
I don't know.
She's like before Back to Eden.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's not big on deep mulch.
No,
Yeah,
not.
we're
Just stirred it
production.
up.
Yeah, we're production growing, so we don't use it. And I've been to Paul Gauchi's. He works in his garden every day, and my friend lives there. Like they work in it every day, so I do too.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, when we did Back
What
to
are you
Eden,
saying? It's no less work.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just maybe different work.
I get it. It's just
You're
that
a
could be a
market,
whole
but
nother
you're,
thing.
but you're a market farmer.
Wanna have a whole nother
You're a
show?
market gardener,
Yeah,
and market gardeners
yeah.
Market garden style versus.
some people do wood chips in the walkways,
Mhm.
and they make it no-till. We don't. I'm gonna make a video with Nick, who's living with Paul. He's gonna come visit in like 3 weeks, and we're gonna argue wood chips
Good.
and not wood chips and post it.
Because is he pretty hardcore?
He
pretty
lives
set
at
on it?
Paul's. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
For
all
those
about
of you
it.
who don't know, Paul Gauchi is kind of like the modern day Ruth Stout.
Yeah, sorry I don't know Ruth Stout, but I'm gonna
doing wood.
I'm
well,
gonna
he's
look her
doing
up
wood chip.
tonight. Daniel said something about texting or whatever. You can DM me on Instagram, or you can
I mean, you could
I get-
text Justin, and
yeah.
Justin
If
can
you
get
have
the
questions
text
to me,
her.
yeah.
Just DM Casey on Instagram. He's
Or-
a real dude. He's available.
Or do what other people do. I think they like
Oh,
look up our website.
Just
like, call
actually
me.
show up to his house while he's
show up
pooping.
at his
remember?
house. What's going on?
I'll open the window. What's up, dog? I'm pooping.
Hey, you can do this red flag.
Yeah.
You can keep him on board. He'll talk to you through the window. You
red
keep him on
flagging,
board.
red flagging so
He's
bad.
gonna red flag you. Okay. Let's get serious.
Is that
Shall we?
possible?
Okay. Is it ever okay to give meat animals antibiotics? So now we could get Miss Thang going.
Oh,
No.
my.
Okay. So this is a genuine question.
Mhm.
I imagine if your animal is going to die, okay, but I think this is a personal decision. So for us personally, I mean, if your pet was gonna die, you might want to do antibiotics and save it. Us personally, we would never eat an antibiotic-fed animal.
Correct.
And
But that is
we would
more
never then
for us
keep it.
personally. But I would never shame anybody.
we
for
would
doing
never
that.
keep it long term either. And we didn't really talk about that maybe well with
Violet?
Violet, because it's Violet. We didn't want to restore, which the antibiotics wouldn't work either because it was fescue toxicity. But before, when we didn't know what it was and we were thinking it maybe could be something, an infection, we weren't going to do antibiotics and drink her milk.
Yeah.
And if we're
hardcore though.
so we harvest,
really hardcore.
so we culled her for our bellies earlier, so that we could actually eat her meat.
So, well, this is what happened. We talked to the vet on the phone, and she said, well, if it's pneumonia, we'll do 7-day course of antibiotics. And if she doesn't get better, then that means it's fescue toxicity. And I was like, I don't want to give my milk cow antibiotics for 7 days for just in case. It was it just I don't know. It just was wrong to me. Because then I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I do believe in Synergy Animal Products being a natural antibiotic. And
Yeah.
even like George
Well,
from Reedy Fork, they're a dairy. They're an organic dairy. We were talking to him.
Yeah.
And he was telling us about
Yeah.
his vet.
When he was conventional.
Yeah.
His vet bill was $1,000 a month.
$1,000 a month, and now they haven't used the vet in 8 years. And he was giving me some
$0
tips
a month.
on how to help an animal through things and how to use natural herbs and stuff like that. And I was just like, I believe personally. I mean, I believe we
So-
don't have to use antibiotics. There are times I believe when antibiotics should be used, like when a person is going to die. Let's use the antibiotics. I'm
Yeah.
not against it.
For sure.
I took antibiotics when I had appendicitis. You just got to do it sometimes. It's okay. But for us personally, because of my health in particular, because of my gut issues and things like that. I mean, Justin took antibiotics for 9 months with Lyme disease. Like, y'all, like, we're not crazy, refuse it all the time. But, yeah, I mean, so, okay,
Ken's
well,
saying,
let's get it
"Uh-oh,
off.
got her started." Okay, see,
I know, look at my
you got
face.
me started on business. Now you can see
Okay,
your face. back
okay,
there.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm
He-
done
he saw
talking.
his
Ken
face.
in there.
Okay.
What was the question?
So,
Well, you answered it. How do you keep your chickens safe from predators? I want chickens, but my husband said no because of predators. So I don't know. I don't want to hinder a relationship.
No.
Relationship comes first.
Yeah.
So if it is a matter of just explaining that you can get electric net fencing and a guard goose that would solve 95% of your problems, you're still gonna have problems. I still had a sea monster lose its head last night, and I thought, okay, it was an owl because that's happened before. And then we saw guts hanging on the electric fence. So then, okay, it's a raccoon. Raccoon got in there, possum,
trying to pull it out.
and then tried to pull it out. So maybe the fence wasn't on, but from all I can tell and Jonah can tell, the fence was on. So it's not 100% foolproof. You're gonna lose something to a predator.
You
Harvey
will.
Ustry lose chickens to a predator. Joel
Yeah.
Salatin lose chickens to predators.
Foxes
It's
are
gonna
It's part
happen.
of
So-
life.
But guard that relationship. There may be other reasons he doesn't want chickens, and that's reason number one. So it's better just to, in my opinion, just to show that
Just
you
to
value
buy-
him more than you value
Buy
chickens.
your eggs at the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's going to be all
Okay.
right.
So how long can you keep a mobile coop in a 100 square foot perimeter fence before needing to move them? We started to keep them in the same paddock 3 or 4 days, but I was concerned that they were on their own manure too long. I've been moving paddocks every day for the past month. I like to move them not as much, or I'd like to not move them as much, but want what's best for them. So general rule of thumb is 3 square feet per bird. I don't know how many birds you have here, but unless they've worn the grass out and are sitting on icings of manure, they're going to be okay. It's best practice to move them. If you're not wanting to turn that area into a garden, if you're not wanting them to till it, then watch the grass. Just wait until they start tearing up the grass. Once they start tearing up the grass, just move on. And once the grass has had enough time to heal, it just depends on where you live, how much it's rained, what type of grass you have. It's just crazy. When that grass is healed, you can hit it back. So here, this time of year, we've had perfect amounts of rain, perfect amounts of sunshine. I could go back to that area in 3 or 4 weeks. And for Casey, do you have any experience with fruit trees? If you do, what would you recommend spraying them to keep away the bugs and the pests? I have pear trees, peach trees, and apple trees, and plan on expanding my orchard. Any feedback would be helpful.
So I'm gonna send Justin a fruit tree program
Ooh, I like
because,
that.
and then y'all can have
You've
it
been answering
because
I answered that one.
I did fruit trees for Bartlett, and it's really more. It's a lot. It's really involved to just answer it. So I'll send you a thing,
Yeah.
a program, so you
Okay.
guys can have that. And it's
Alright.
it's like a spring summer thing. And someone asked me why we till. We don't really till a lot. It's like an inch on the top, and that's to prep the seed bed, which is really needed
That's
for
what
what
you
we're doing.
did for us, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he
Well, you till initially to build the
he did.
beds.
He tilled.
and then-
We tilled.
Yeah.
But then you went on yours.
Yeah.
You just kind of. I mean, it's basically the same thing I did today with hoeing.
Yeah, it's and then the other thing is, going no till is the end goal, but when I'm doing a third of an acre by myself and not spending a lot of money, like trying to be practical and sell things before I get into the ideology of it, like I'll do a shallow till 1 inch deep for as long as I need to build the farm up so it really can be a no-till farm. It's still building soil as it is. If you had a Power Hero, which would be ideal, it's like the same thing, it just mixes it, and then, yeah, it's strictly out of being practical right now, and it's not like a harsh till. So
Good, thank you, Casey. This is another one for you. My squash is being decimated by vine borer beetles and squash bugs. My other garden plant and fruit trees are being eaten by grasshoppers. What organic methods would you recommend to battle them? My chickens and guineas help, but they aren't enough.
If you want to use an organic spray, I know some people that use Pyganic, Pyganic. It's pretty harsh. I don't use it. I use insect netting, and the best thing I can say for squash is plant it, cover with insect netting until it's flowering, pull the insect netting so it can get pollinated, and succession plant. So, plant 5 squashes, and then like a month later plant another 5 squashes, and just try and push as much as you can. Squash bugs are insane. We just tore out our squash bed, and I took the flame weeder out and just roasted like a couple thousand of them. It was awesome.
I bet it felt good.
Yeah.
They're so annoying.
I just we sell a good bit, but it's not. A lot of the times they'll still produce the squash. It's just that the plant looks bad. So
Yeah.
try and get rid of the eggs if you can. If fire is your choice to do that, because they'll lay the eggs on the leaves, then burn them.
I will say this year what I did at the beginning of the year, and I feel like I did a good job of staying on top of it, but I would take some soapy water in a jar, and I would just like roll the eggs off into the jar, and then you can put the squash bugs into the jar. Of course, I mean, like I didn't have all that out there. I was just doing like here. And it would be like 10, 15 minutes a day, and I would just put all of the squash bugs in that. And as soon as they hit the soapy water, they like couldn't get out of it.
Yeah.
And then I would throw that to the chickens, and the chickens would eat it because it was not bad soap,
And you could do soap and neem oil.
You can do neem oil spray, or put the neem oil in the water.
You can mix the neem oil with the soap water
and then
mixture.
Spray it. Okay, now I almost killed, and I did kill some of my plants. Spraying.
With the soap?
Yeah.
When did you spray it?
I think that's my problem. It's like 10 a.m.
Yeah, you don't. If it's gonna be
So
above,
it's at night.
if it's gonna be above 85 degrees, that's when your soap can become damaging to the plant.
Yeah, it damaged it bad.
Yeah, it's called a lot of times it's referred to as phytotoxicity, but it's just like it's just the sun like in the soap.
I thought
kind of burning
it
the
like
leaf.
burned it.
Yeah, put it on in the morning, and then I think if Scott Burton's in here, he was texting me about this.
Scott, you in here? I haven't seen him chatting.
Yeah. But then, you know, what was I saying? Just kidding.
I will.
Yeah, the soap on there, and I told him to spray it off, the
Okay.
foliage. So wash the soap off.
I did spray the soap off, and the zucchini plant ended up producing very well for me. I did kill like my candy roaster that was doing amazing, and another pumpkin that was doing really
But
good.
didn't it come back?
Yeah.
Not the pumpkin and the candy roaster. I extra sprayed those, and
All right.
it was bad.
It's okay. You were just planting, Becky.
I was just trying to.
All right. If you were at 250,000 subs when I found you when you started vlogging on YouTube, did you hire a coach or consultant to help you? Not necessarily in relation to YouTube, but I did hire a coach one time. And guess where I found him? I found him on the Smart Passive Income. Pat Flynn interviewed him. What was his name? Do you remember that guy's name? It was so good. But I wasn't asking him
that
about
guy?
YouTube necessarily. I remember asking him.
Yeah.
That's when we were getting some footage. We were getting some, our feet off the
Traction.
ground, some traction, and we were actually wondering about hiring somebody to help us with the kids going into the bus field, knowing we were going to be busy, freeing myself up to focus more on the business. And I remember one thing he said, if you can make a certain dollar amount making videos or content or whatever it be, and you have the opportunity, and as an entrepreneur you have the opportunity, the more videos, more content I make, theoretically the more money I can make, right? So you can figure out how much, just like you and your wife have figured out how much it costs for you to live every day, you can also figure out how much you're worth every day or how much you're worth for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're worth $25 an hour making videos or doing whatever, or cutting down trees or whatever, growing vegetables, and you can hire a kid for $15 to mow your grass, and it would have took you an hour, should you hire that kid? Do the math.
Yeah.
You come out
Makes
on
sense.
top, $10.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of you mowing the grass, you take that hour to produce more content or more vegetables or whatever your talent is, and it's just simple math. And not everybody gets that, but I got it, and that coach helped me a lot. You mentioned the coach, what's his name? Tim Smoyer. I actually hired him too once, and I've only hired 2 coaches, so it's going to sound like I'm hiring all these coaches, but I think it's a great idea because you get specific individual help that maybe can't be answered by searching online or reading a book, and it's specific to your situation. I did not find so much help with him because it was too theoretical in that, and I wanted more individual advice. So that's what I walked away with there. I don't think I wasted my money because you want to invest in yourself. I did learn some things, but I probably won't do that again. But the things that helped me the most, I listed them in the show notes. The book Authority by Nathan Barry, the book The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, the book Launch by Jeff Walker, Smart Passive Income podcast with Pat Flynn, and Growth Tools email list. Get on the Growth Tools email list. Do what he says. Get his free products. Consider his online products if you're serious about making a career out of producing content online. And all those are there, so you don't have to memorize. Also gave you my resources. I have a white paper on 15 ways I've succeeded as a vlogger. I wrote a PDF called The 20-Hour Work Week. And so it's how to make a great living just working 20 hours a week on an online business surrounding what you're doing the other hours. And what was the other page? Oh, and how I succeeded on Kickstarter. How I raised $35,000 in 30 days with only 7 people in my audience at that time, guys. 7 people. 7 people. So where are we, Rebecca? Are we seriously right here?
Yeah.
We're at the last question.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure we answered all these? You're just flipping pages over.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I thought that.
Wow. I feel like we're missing something.
All
right.
Let's go back.
Maybe we're not. Okay, guys, we're almost done. Oh, are we really at 9:37? It's a good. Okay, yeah. Let's do this real quick. We're raising 3 commercial breed pigs for the first time ever. We are feeding your pound per day per month protocol, even more when we can. My question is, how much freezer space should we plan for? We're likely to sell 1 or 2 of them and then keep 2. We have 16 to 17 cubic feet. They're going to be 250-pound live weight. So they're going to be 250-pound live weight. Whatever 60% of that is what they're going to be in your freezer. So Rebecca's going to do the math. It's probably about 70-ish pounds. I think you can get 2 of those into a 17 cubic freezer. What do you think?
150 pounds each.
I think you can get 300 pounds of meat in a freezer because
How
we put
big?
300 pounds
16
of beef.
to 17
How much
cubic
pounds
feet?
of beef did we put in the freezer? About 300 pounds.
And we put it all in that one freezer.
Yeah,
It
and
was
we
like-
still had plenty of some room.
Yeah, it was like 21.
So I would say
cubic.
300 pounds is probably a good general rule of thumb for a normal freestanding or chest 17.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you pack it
All right.
smart, I think you can.
Okay, one last question, and we're
Okay.
going to close it,
For
guys.
Casey.
Casey's got to drive an hour and a half
I know.
and then get up at 6 in the morning.
5.
5?
Get up at
Okay,
5.
one question.
5 a.m. club, man.
5 a.m. club.
It's a real thing.
Okay, so we're going to
You
start
get
talking like
together
this.
with your friends.
Speed it up right now.
I don't have any.
I don't have any friends.
Addie stays in bed.
Yeah.
So you need to get up.
Josh Lazier here, new member from Charleston, West Virginia. Thank you, Josh, for joining. 2 questions. So my question is, what do you recommend to loosen clay soil? So just answer that one first, and then we'll get to the next one. Well, shoot. Maybe this is part of it. I have tarp lightly tilled with a mantis tiller and put 2 inches compost on my 30-inch bed for my fall garden after watching your videos. Also, what do you recommend for row covers for small-scale market gardens? Beds 30-inch wide by 20 feet long. So I guess answer the loosening clay soil.
It seems like you're doing stuff right. I would just maybe, look at getting a broad fork because you have heavy clay, and then the row cover. What size is ours? I think it's 7 feet. Tag me in the Facebook group, and I'll have Tori look at what we ordered, just so I tell you the right stuff, because she does like all the ordering, and I'm just like, yeah, we need row cover, and she's like, oh, okay. But I'm pretty sure it's an Agribond, but I'm pretty sure it's 7 feet.
I was just
It's
looking
about
at
as-
Agribond today.
It's about as tall as me, and I'm 6 feet. It's a little taller, so it's enough to fit over your 30-inch bed with wire hoops to give you the arch you need. And then for the clay soil, organic matter is going to be your best bet. Get a soil test, and I think if you add, and don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% sure, if you add gypsum,
Yeah, it's gypsum.
yeah, it will
Yep.
soften it up. But you have to get your soil test to know that if you add the gypsum, if you don't need to add it and you add it, you're gonna have issues.
You're gonna mess it up.
Yeah.
I actually was gonna ask you about that.
The soil test is really important because balancing the chemistry of the soil actually matters, and most of us have lived our entire lives off of chemistry based agriculture. Now the shift is switching towards biological, but to not even consider getting a soil test and like doing the things to get the chemistry right is kind of crazy. So especially with your clay, because clay will hold a lot of nutrients, like it's kind of better to have it in my opinion, and we're a little sandier, so I hope that answers your question, and just tag me in the group
When
so
is
we can.
the best time to get a soil test? Anytime?
Anytime.
Does it matter?
Well, if you do it now, you'll have what your soil is now, and then you can amend in the fall and let it sit all
Okay.
winter, and then everything will be available to the plants in the spring.
Okay, the other thing is, what is the best soil test to get?
So Ken.
Ken's being cheeky.
We're all laughing
It
at Ken's
is, because
comment.
it is. I was
I
going to
know.
say that. She's
I
a
know.
sugar mama.
I know
Okay,
it.
so for those watching the replay, Ken's getting cheeky.
I know
And
it.
calling
Yo,
you out.
Ken
He's
don't-
calling you out, Casey. He
Man.
says you have a sugar mama.
Yeah, Ken, you're just old and tired.
He
Comment
has to get
stuff.
up at 5. He's grumpy.
Yeah.
It's irritable Ken. He's got to get up at 5
Irritable
and
Ken.
go to work.
Dang beekeepers.
Okay, Second Life Farms. I believe that's Kathy. She learned a lot tonight and is absolutely worth joining.
Nice.
I mean, hopefully,
Good to
you guys
hear.
got hopefully a lot of content out of this.
Well, hold on,
41
wait.
questions.
He was gonna answer my question. He didn't answer
Okay.
it yet. What's the best place to get your soil test out?
Ask your extension agent because they've likely dealt with a lot of people in your area and where they send their soil test to.
Okay.
Or Midwestern Bioag is. I did a soil test with Ellen Palashuk, and that's what she used.
Okay.
And they send a really clear report back of what it is, and it's
Mhm.
like nothing's weird, and it's $25 a soil test.
Okay.
So and then if anyone here is gonna do a soil test, get your soil from different parts of your garden. Don't get it from one area,
So like my raised beds, just get a little bit out of each one.
each one, and then you mix that in a bucket,
And then I get a soil test. I take that.
yeah, and then I have some little boxes I can give you.
Okay.
That's your raised bed test. That's $25.
And then
And
I
then-
do that garden.
Yeah, then you could do
And then
like
all the frost.
Yeah.
All the
you could
different
do like
ones.
plots 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, and then like just so you
Okay.
don't have to pay as much. But
The kids' garden.
yeah,
So
I'm gonna get on that.
No.
I'm gonna get on that.
the last of his question, and we're gonna have to call it for everybody, for Casey, for Ken, and
Rebecca's getting tired.
other homesteads getting up at 4 o'clock.
Ken's
My
gonna get up at
goodness.
4.
Help us, I pray.
He's retired. What's he get up at 4?
What about testing soil in the pastures? I mean, I think that's
Well, you could test it to see if you need to add lime or other. It wouldn't hurt us to do
well, like for us, we use our cows because we have that crazy mineral program going on. So they're eating the grass that's grown in the soil. Then they're going to the mineral shaw and saying, "Okay, I need some of this. I need
Mhm.
some of that."
Yeah.
Then they're pooping that back onto the soil. The chickens are actually spreading it, and then that's how we're
Oh.
mineralizing the
that.
pasture.
Don't forget to turn your water off from the carrots. Good
Thank
job.
you, Nick.
Jonah already did.
Jonah
Oh,
already
Jonah
did.
got it.
What? He's the best. Jonah,
He's the
come
best.
smile at
Jonah's
people.
Come smile
Yeah.
at people.
Come smile at him. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. Best row cover for market beds, 30-inch wide to 20 feet long. So,
yeah, that would be. That's what I. If you're. Yeah, I would. Just tag me in the Facebook group, and
Okay.
I'll send you a link to what we have bought.
okay, good. All right, we're gonna call it there, guys. We're gonna have to say goodnight.
Thank you,
A
Casey.
bunch of you folks
Yeah.
showing up, a bunch of new members. Thank you, Casey. Everybody give Casey a high five. We got to hook Casey up with some,
Meat.
yep, some pork. Okay. All right. We will see you guys later. Thank you very much. We enjoyed this. We love and appreciate all y'all. Hope you had as much fun at this as we did. Hopefully, we'll all be just as excited tomorrow when we wake up in the morning.
I wouldn't be excited waking up at 5 a.m.
All right.
But, you
All right,
if I
so-
believe, right?
If
Jonah
you
don't
wake
get up
up
till
like me,
7.
we've got this picture on our wall that says, "Start your day with a grateful heart." Is that what it says?
It does.
There's one.
I'm
you know
trying
who,
to practice
You
that.
know who Jim Rohn is? He
Mhm.
said, "You can run the day, or the day can run you."
Ooh. So
That's a good
let's
one.
run the day tomorrow. Wake up with grateful hearts. Don't wake up with anxiety like I do. Fight that and say, "Hey, what am I thankful for?" All right. Thanks, guys. We're going to run the day tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Everybody, run the day.
Run the rest of the day.
All right, first got to figure out how to turn this show off.
It's gonna be
Rebecca, do you know how to turn this show off?
What was that soil test?